This brief tour is aimed at users of Resolver Ballot who are looking for an alternative software. So I'm not going to go into the details of how we vote in order to generate heat maps, as hopefully you already have a bit of experience of using voting within your workshops. In the example you can see here, I've only voted on 4 risks. What we can see is we've got the impact and likelihood scores, and then the circles are my control effectiveness scores. So in my example, risk C has scored well on control, therefore it's green, whereas A has scored very poorly, therefore it's red. So hopefully pretty familiar to most of you. There are various things that we can do to change the appearance of our heat map. For example, we can pop in a boundary marker. This is user defined, so you decide where that line sits and what the line color is. In my example, I've pretty much split this down the middle, so we can say we're going to concern ourselves with anything sitting above this red line. So that's up to you whether you use that and how that looks and where it sits. We can also use overlays. So we can color code this, again user definable, so you decide for each of the cells what color do you want to make it. And of course this doesn't have to be a 1 to 5 scale, so if you're using a different scale now, that's very easy to change within Matrix. Another thing that we can use is a background picture as opposed to those overlays. So that heat map background is just an image file. If you've got something that you're currently using, of course you can use your own image instead. This is just the one that comes as standard. We've got various other views, so we can go in and look at risk scores as an average graph, for example, and these can be reordered. And we can also see scores within our list view. So if we pop back to the list, again, probably a very familiar scenario for you. You have a list of risks here. All I've done is note these down as risk B, risk A. Of course, this could be your full risk name, and you can also have short identifiers. So if you need to label up that heat map with a risk identifier, you can have a short name as well as a full length risk description. In terms of the voting process to get to this point, I switched on just the 4 A to D here, which if I reorder that alphabetically, that will be slightly clearer. I only switched these ones on for voting. If we wanted to vote on risk E, we can just click to make those ones green, and those are now enabled as well. We can vote either on CLiKAPAD voting keypads. It doesn't work with other hardwares, it's specifically written for CLiKAPAD. Or you can vote using laptops or smartphones. If you've got a hybrid meeting, so you've got some people in the room with a keypad, some people over Zoom or Teams or whatever platform you use, those people could be voting on their mobile phone, and all votes are treated exactly the same by the Matrix software, so there's no difference in that process. You can also have postal votes, so if you're using a MS form survey or something for people that can't attend on the day, of course you can import that data into the software as well, so that it's showing you your live votes and those postal votes. And you can also do benchmark data. So I think most of the things that people are generally using within a risk workshop are possible here. Now I'm going to click finish so that we can go into our edit mode within Matrix and have a look at how the actual voting assessments look and what we can and can't change on those. So if I go to the assessments button, let's go and have a look at the assessment that I've set up for impact. I'm going to go full screen so that we can see better how that would look during the voting process, and we'll have a look at what we can do here. So firstly, this could be branded. You can have your company logo or any other kind of backgrounds that you want for this, so it can be quite brand friendly. And of course we can change fonts, we can change wording. So if I right click on the wording of the question, I can go in and choose a different font, or I could go in and choose a different colour. So let's just make that look slightly different. There we go. Let's make it pretty ugly with this one here, and I hope you don't ever do that, but there we go. Easy enough to change. So if I right click, go to fonts, and we'll put that back to something a bit more readable. And we can change the font size, of course. We can also change the font color. So whatever you need to do in terms of how these look is fairly simple. Up here, this is reading our risk list. So it's showing me the example of risk Q. You'll notice I've left lots of room here. That's because my risk descriptions are likely to be far more than just a single word and letter. So we've got lots of space here in case we have long descriptors. The vote counter box fairly obviously shows you the number of votes coming in, and of course that can be moved as well. So if you were to have a logo or something up here, you could move it down to this corner. I'm just going to pop it back where it was. Within the graph, we can of course reposition that graph if we need to, and we can also change the colors. I've gone with a simple traffic light structure, but these can be any color that you want. So take the bar that you want to change, and you can change all the bar colors, or you can just choose to change that one, and you can define custom colors as well. So totally up to you what the colors are. And also totally up to you what this scale is. We can add more options, doesn't have to be a 1 to 5, and obviously you can change that wording. Particularly important if you're not presenting in English, you need to change that wording to your language, no problem there. But obviously you can make this match your current process by simply changing the details in there. I'm going to cancel out because I'm not making any changes on this one. The only thing that you can't adapt here, we can change the color of the fonts for these stats here, but we can't change which stats are shown. So it's either stats on or stats off. It's simple as that, but you can make that look different to better match your background. So if you were using a dark background, for example, you wouldn't want black text on it. You could make that text white or yellow or something that's going to contrast with your background. So fairly simple. We go through, we can change each of these individually. We can also use templates. So if I'd spent lots of time making my impact background look nice and changing all my fonts and changing my graph colors, I can save that as a template and then apply it for my other assessments. And you'll notice we've got 9 assessments here, so you're not stuck with just those 3. So you can use up to 9 and obviously word those however you see fit. In summary, Matrix is highly user definable, so can be set to work with your current process and look how you would like it to look. Of course, you can also export all of the data to Excel so that you've got your full audit from the workshop, and you can do any other kind of data analysis that you need to once that's in Excel, and share it with others and so forth. And you can also set the software so that it grabs screenshots of all the different graph views as you run through the process, and then you can export those. So it's quite easy to put together your post-assessment report with images included. Obviously, this quick tour is not going to have answered every question that you might have, and I haven't shown you every possible piece of functionality, but I hope that it was a good taster for you. And if you'd like to know more, simply get in touch with us and we'll be happy to answer your questions or arrange a demo for you. So to contact us, please email sales@CLiKAPAD.com.